This is the Perseverance Podcast, where we tell stories of injured athletes and how they found the strength to recover. And now, your host, me, Peter Bowman. We are here with Jake Spotswood, who is a graduate student and the sixth-year track and field athlete at Virginia Tech. Jake, good afternoon.
How's it going, Peter?
It's going great, man. Thank you for joining us on the Perseverance Podcast. Want to open up, if you could just tell listeners a little bit about yourself and how you got into being a world-class decathlete.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Fairhope, Alabama. So it's a small town down in the bottom of Alabama, right next to Florida. And just kind of grew up doing all different sports. Was kind of all over the place, energetic kid. But I was playing basketball, football, baseball, diving, anything I could find that kind of kept me going. And looking to about middle school, I saw, we were out at this other middle school just playing football with some friends, and I saw some kids pole vaulting. And I was like, oh my gosh, that looks so fun. You're just nonstop. You're running, you're throwing yourself in the air, all this kind of stuff. I was like,
right? Like, what a perfect thing for a middle schooler to do. I have 4 kids, and I'm just imagining my 7-year-old flying himself in the air, sprinting, and then landing on this big soft thing. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like a little daredevil sport you can find out of nowhere and just, see if you can do it. So it turned out the high school that I was going to had a pretty strong pole vault program, and they've kind of had one historically just throughout the years. They've been kind of top in the state. So I decided to pick it up, and I was just doing it for fun on top of the other sports I was playing. And then moving into high school, it was the same. It was playing basketball, diving, and then I was pole vaulting. But come junior, senior year, it was, you kind of need to specialize. You need to find something and really focus in on it if you're going to take it to the collegiate level. So I decided to focus in on track. And that junior to senior year, I made a lot of improvements across the board. So that was in pole vault, in the high jump, in the long jump, in the throws. So all these different events that I was doing, I was improving.
Do you think that was because of puberty, or do you think that was because of effort, or a combination of both, or something else?
Definitely a combination of both. You kind of hit your stride and you grow up a little bit and you're like, oh, wow, I'm this much stronger, whatever. But it was really a big mindset shift. It was, I was doing sports for fun this whole time. I'm seeing my friends at the basketball practice, this kind of stuff. But then you come out and it's like, oh, well, we need to pay for college. We want to do this. We have all these goals. We want to jump this high. We want to score this high, all those kind of things. So it really made a shift in my head that next year. So I was lifting at 5:30 before school at the local gym, going to school, practicing during school, in my track PE that we had, this class we had, and then coming out after school and doing everything I could. And you just stack enough of those days on top of each other, and by the end you have something you're pretty proud of. So it was a big focus shift to working hard, but also learning how to improve. So studying film, studying the technique, understanding what I need to eat, how much I need to sleep, all that kind of stuff. So it really kicked off in that high school, moving into that senior year, that last year.
You were just talking about how you were starting to get recruited for that. Now, at that point, were you still playing other sports, or was your sole focus on track and field?
Sole focus was track and field my senior year. And I actually didn't get to compete until later. So I didn't have a lot of universities reaching out to me and, trying to recruit me because my marks from junior year were not that great. So I was a really late recruited athlete. So I ended up taking some visits. I went to Louisville, and then a couple smaller schools like South Alabama, Samford, and then took a visit to the University of Alabama and decided that was where I wanted to be. It was they were competitive in the SEC.
I said roll tide, yeah.
There you go, roll tide. It was a great program. They were competitive in the SEC. Loved the people I met up there. Loved the business school, which I eventually went into. And then we had some great team success. We won the SEC championship when I was there. And then I had a redshirt year where I was injured, and then COVID year, so we lost that whole year. And then my senior year last year was when I really started to, put things together, score pretty high. I became an All-American that year, scored in a couple events at the SEC meet, And then from there it was, hey, you know, we have 2 years of eligibility left, and kind of what are we going to do moving forward? And I knew I wanted to keep going in track because there's just so much potential in this event, because there's 10 events that you have to try to master. So it's, man, the sky's the limit. Let's go to grad school. If somebody else is going to pay for it, why not? Let's go put the time in, earn a couple degrees, and keep doing our sport while we can. So that's what took me to Virginia Tech from Alabama.
Great. And Jake, I know you're talking about these 10 events, and you know you're a decathlete. Can you tell the listeners what a decathlete is, what a decathlon is, and you know why you love it so much?
Yeah. So the decathlon is, you come out. It's over 2 days. So you come out on day one, and you'll start with the 100 meter, and you go long jump, shot put, high jump, 400, and then you try to recover as best you can. But so you go home, go to sleep, you see your trainers, all that kind of stuff, take your ice bath. Come back day two, you line up, you have the 110 hurdles, and then the discus, pole vault, javelin, and then the 1500. So they saved the absolute worst for last. But
the 1500, is that about a mile? Is that, you know,
it's 100 meters short of a mile. Yep.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And what's our time in that, man?
We're 4:44 right now.
Okay.
I'm hoping to dip under that a little bit this year.
I'm hoping to be 3 times that this year. So that's
yeah. There we go.
What now? Do you have a favorite of those events? Is there something you really love in the decathlon?
You know, I lean towards the pole vault because I've been doing it for so long, and because it's one of my better events. And it's just so fun. It's like a roller coaster. Yeah.
Does it get old? Is it just always awesome every time you get up in the air?
It really doesn't get old. It's so much fun. Just flinging yourself that high in the air every time. It's so fun.
That's great. That's really cool. And so, you know, take me through a little bit, you know, in terms of how you balanced academics with, you know, this, you know, high level of collegiate activity. You know, take us through kind of what you did. I mean, it sounded like you kind of sped through school and are now working on your graduate degree. Maybe talk a little bit about how athletics relates to academics.
Yeah. You know, I'll refer back. There was, I believe it was a golf coach. He was recruiting one of my other friends back in high school. And I think he told him you got to look at college as a triangle, you know, so there's one side, this is your academics, this other side, this is your athletics, and the other side is social. So you kind of have to pick two, you know, you have to prioritize two of them. Like you can be a great athlete and a great student and have no social life, or you know, you can pick whatever ones you want. That was always kind of in the back of my head, and it was just a matter of prioritizing. So, you know, you go out for morning weights, and then you have class all day. You go out to the track in the afternoon, and then you have a night kind of free to yourself. It's like, well, what am I going to do? Am I going to get ahead on the schoolwork, so relieve some stress so I don't have to stress about this other assignment when we're out on the track the next day? So it's just little things like that. It's just being able to prioritize what's really important and not get caught up in the wave of what, you know, maybe some other people who are just students are doing, or some other athletes who may not be as focused, or just different things like that.
Looking back on that advice, do you think he was right that you really can only pick 2 out of the 3?
I think he was pretty right. Yeah. Yeah. If you want to, I guess, get to your highest potential, but I am somebody who likes to, you know, have a well-balanced life and kind of try to do all different kinds of things. So that's like where I'm at right now with track and field, academics, being in business school, with social media, trying to grow a brand, with, you know, having my girlfriend, other relationships, my family, and then my career, you know, focusing on building my career and what I'm going to do after athletics. So it's kind of all these different things, but you have to still know how to prioritize and how to, you know, say this day I'm focusing on this and this day I'm focusing on this and this, and just having a schedule and having a plan for the week and just different things like that. So, yeah.
Do you think that plan helps? I mean, being so busy forces you to succeed?
Kind of. Yeah. Yeah. So, because it's for me, I like to, you know, keep going, always having something on the plate. And if I don't, you know, it kind of starts to snowball. You know, if you take, you know, we'll finish up a track season, and I'll be like, all right, we're going to take a week, 2 weeks, whatever, just relax, let the body recover. And then you start to realize like, oh, I haven't studied at all. I haven't done this. I haven't done that. So it's like, I kind of like keeping the ball rolling, staying busy.
So let me bring your thoughts to your injury. I understand you suffered a pretty bad ankle injury. Can you take listeners through a little bit of both how that happened and what happened to your ankle?
Yeah. So it was this past year. It was 2022, and I just put together the best indoor season of my life. It was broke the school record at Virginia Tech twice in the heptathlon. Was second at the ACC meet.
Indoor season. You're talking about indoor track, like indoor events, things. These are obviously not outdoors.
Mm-hmm. So we have two separate seasons. We have an indoor season and an outdoor season.
And is it different? How is it different than the outdoor outside, the obvious indoor outdoor?
Yeah. So for us, we do the heptathlon indoors, which is 7 events. So we run the 60, do the long jump, shot put, high jump, and then you come back on the next day, 60 hurdles, pole vault, 1,000. So it's kind of just a little toned back version of the decathlon. So that's what we run indoors.
Got it. So you just finished that season. What happens next?
Yeah. So, we win ACC championship as a team. We go to nationals, become another time All-American. And then we move into outdoor. Outdoors going well, setting personal bests. At each meet we go to, like, probably in the best shape I've ever been in my life. And then 1 week before ACCs, we're out for a practice. And this day we're working on long jump, pole vault, and then we got to lift a little bit after that. And I'm doing the long jump, and it's going really well. I'm moving super fast. I'm popping off the board, jumping really high. And I say, you know what, I'm just going to take one more rep. Everything's going well. We're just going to do one more and call it there. Come down, and probably one of the best runs I've had. I'm moving really fast. I'm bringing a lot of speed into it. And when I go to put my foot down to jump, heel hits the board, and it slips. And my spikes catch the track. And my leg, I don't even know how to describe it. It just turns inward. You hear a massive pop. And I hit the sand, and I immediately know, I'm like, oh my gosh, my season's done. My career might be done. You feel the pain immediately.
Was it like one of those things you'd see on the NFL where we all zoom in and they slow-mo and they're like, oh. Yeah,
a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, I know it was used as a case study in some of the athletic trainers' classes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
it's awesome you can laugh about it now, but I'm sure it must have been terrible sitting there.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Definitely was. And, we go see the doctors and we do the x-rays, MRI, things like that. Come to find out, I cracked my fibula completely in half towards the middle, cracked it at another place at the bottom. The fibula drove down and chipped some of the heel bone off. There was another break in the foot, ruptured all of the ligaments on the top of my foot, dislocated some tendons around the heel. So it was just, I was bruised from the bottom of my toes all the way up to basically my knee.
Wow.
So it was just the amount of trauma that was going through the ankle and the leg. It was a lot to handle. So it's like anywhere you move the foot, it was painful. But
so what did they have to do surgery, or were kind of the next options?
They did. Yeah. So I went down to Birmingham, Alabama, to the Andrews group. They do a lot of sports surgeries.
Sure.
They handle Alabama, a lot of the NFL teams, different things like that. So we went and saw them.
That Dr. Andrews has operated on, over the years. Sure.
Yeah.
Baseball players, etc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's jerseys just everywhere in that office. It's really interesting. Yeah. So we see him. We see Dr. Waldrop, and he puts it together. He actually did the surgery in 45 minutes, which still blows my mind. It was
right.
That fast. But yeah, I have a lot of screws. I think I have 9 screws, a long plate on my fibula, and then a tightrope, which is this little cable that goes between the fibula and tibia, and it holds the bones in place and helps the ligaments heal up front. And then they repaired all the other tendons and stuff too. But I mean, and you can imagine, being in your 20s, you're independent, you're out on your own, you're doing all this, and then next thing you know, like, oh, I'm back home in Alabama. My mom's doing my laundry, they're cooking my meals, all this kind of stuff. So I'm sure you can imagine it was a crazy time. But yeah, it's kind of where we were at.
Crazy, just, try to, like, you're used, like you said, used to that freedom, and, your parents want to help you, but, my parents are still annoying. So,
God love them.
right. They're great, but, they're trying to do the best for you.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have a time period after the surgery where you had to rest? Or did you go into therapy?
I think it was 2 or 3 days to really just sit there and do nothing. And then, like I talked about earlier, I got to keep going. So I was just going stir crazy. I was watching all of the conference championships in the NCAA. So I was watching the one I missed. I was watching the SEC, Pac-12, all this kind of stuff. And then after that third day, I was like, I got to get out of this chair. So, my dad took me to the gym, and I was doing that little hand bike you see a lot of older people use. I was doing that. I was doing intervals on that, and I was just working out my upper body, my right leg, whatever isometric exercises I could do for the left leg, the injured leg. And I was just doing that day in, day out until I was able to see, my physical therapist and get going on the plan. And we stuck to the plan, like to the T, just week in, week out. We're doing everything we can. I'm doing every exercise every day, studying how to heal bones, what to eat, all this kind of stuff. So it was just, took those 3 days, and then, all right, we're back on it. We're getting after it.
That's awesome. You talked about nutrition a little bit. What should people be eating? What did you find out?
Yeah.
Feeling for something like that.
Yeah. So for bone health, it's, a lot of the supplements you can take, like calcium, multivitamins, vitamin D3, things like that. And then obviously really high protein, prioritize your protein because that's what your body uses to heal itself. And then one random thing I found was bone broth. You drink bone broth every day. So that was something that I was, buying at the store. I'm drinking my bone broth every day.
Who knows if it works, but,
exactly.
Bone broth, this makes sense.
Yeah.
So, you have that. Take us through, like, mentally. How are you doing? How did you, find that your body's broken? You're going to fix it. You're going to get through this. Take us through a little bit about what your thought process is mentally at that time.
Yeah. At the time it was, oh my gosh, I can't even put weight on my foot right now. Like, how am I going to do 10 events come the following year? So, those things kind of just get in your head over and over and over. And you kind of just have to keep telling yourself, like, these things just take time. Like, and even I would sit down, just journal out my thoughts, what I'm feeling, what's going on. And just keep reminding myself, people have come back from these kinds of things. So me reaching out to other athletes who have had something similar and saying, what did you do in this case? What did you do here in this stage of recovery? All that kind of stuff. So having other resources to reach out to and talk to, and just knowing what's possible, like what's possible to come back from. So that was a really big thing for me, is just keep reminding myself that it is possible to come back. Just stick to the plan, do everything you know how to do, and it'll just keep getting better.
Now, I know you have a significant social media following. We'll put the links to your profile in our post, but, how did you use social media to document your recovery?
Yeah. So a big thing about my social media, a lot of times I just want to make people smile. Like that's a really big part of, like, my TikTok and sometimes my Instagram. But from the day I got injured, it was just, what, let's make a couple TikToks with the injury video, put it out there, see if I can make people laugh. And it turned out like we were doing millions of views for the next month or two, just from all these injury videos and just, pulling some humor out of what was just such a dark situation for me.
That's so impressive. I've seen a lot of them, and, it's really impressive for you to, use that to pull yourself out. Like you said, you're such a physical, your body's been important to you for your whole life, obviously, but as an athlete to that level, that's really impressive that you were able to do that.
Yeah. Thank you. Kept me busy too. So.
And when were you able to walk again? When were you able to get back on your feet? And, when did you feel like you were maybe back to 80, 90, 100%?
I think I walked for the first time June 27th. I think it was June 27th. I'll have to double check. But the injury was May 1st, surgery was May 10th, and I took my first steps again. I want to say it was June 27th. So it was just, seeing the athletic trainer, my physical therapist, and just steps at a time. Like, here's the plan. We're going to move your foot like this today. We're going to do this, like all that kind of stuff. Just these little movements that keep adding up. So you just kind of set checkpoints for yourself. Like, I'm going to, by this time, I'm going to take my first steps. All right. By this time, I'm going to walk with a little bit of a hop. So it was just continuing to do that and set these different checkpoints for myself and just keep trying to get through it.
And to that point, were you able to get through it? Did you get back onto the track and field team?
Yeah. So I spent all of my summer. I came back to Blacksburg, and I was finishing my first master's, starting the second one. And all I was doing every day was just studying, doing my rehab for however many hours every single day, and then working on the side and doing social media. So I was just nonstop in the summer. Come to the fall, we're just going to keep doing this, keep having faith, keep letting it progress. And then every morning, I'd wake up and I'd visualize what it would look like for me to recover. So in my head, it's like, all right, well, this is what it's going to feel like. This is what it's going to look like. And then you get out to the track and just get a little better every single day. So that's kind of all fall was. It was just, let's keep progressing, keep tracking it, keep seeing what we're doing, and then we'll move forward from there. And then come the indoor season, I was putting up decent marks, and then was dealing with a couple other little injuries that were probably a product of the ankle. So maybe some overcompensating. I had a little groin tear on my right side that we were treating all of indoor. But I just kept having faith. I was like, you know what, we're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep going. And by the time ACCs rolls around, so our conference championship, I was able to finish a heptathlon, complete it, and get fourth in the ACC. So I was second the year before. So I still performed and got fourth at the ACC championships. We won as a team. It was phenomenal. Like everything, all the emotions from that injury just come together at the end of that heptathlon, end of that event. And it was just makes it worth it.
Yeah.
Makes all that worth it.
Do you think you had won the ACC championship before your injury and then you win it after? Was the one that happened after the injury more rewarding?
Kinda. Yeah. I would say it's because you go through so much and you just, every single day you're working towards it, and it just happens. And it's a different kind of working towards it because it's, you're wishing you could be out there sprinting, jumping, throwing, but you can't. You got to be in here doing rehab. So it was that different kind of work to finally get to the point where I can get out there and complete a multi. It was really, really rewarding.
That's fantastic. Well, really, congrats to you, Jake, and amazing to hear your story and to be able to go from, such a horrific injury to competing at an elite level again. A couple questions for you and our listeners. What would you want people, or what advice do you have for people who have suffered serious injuries, both either on the field or off the field? What advice do you have for them?
It's really easy to get within your own head and say, oh my gosh, this is so terrible. I can't believe this happened to me. All these kinds of things. But if you just accept that it happened and look at it from an objective point of view and just say, this is what we're dealing with. There's a saying called the obstacle is the way. So there is an obstacle, and that's just the way it is. It's not like, oh, let's look back. What if this didn't happen? What if this? It's like, no, this is what happened, and this is the way we're going. And so I feel like just reminding yourself of that, like, it happened, it is what it is, and we're going to, progress a little bit every day, not try to do too much on one, certain day. Just say, I'm improving. Let's look back a week ago. I couldn't, do this movement or whatever it may be. So just having those little checkpoints for yourself, and even looking at people who have come back from a similar injury. So that was something that was huge for me. Just, look up people who came back from a leg break, a back bruise, whatever it may be. Just look up something and work to understand what they did to get back and understand it's possible.
That's awesome. What, kind of looking back, a little retrospect on everything you've been through, is there anybody you'd like to thank or you give credit to for helping you get through this?
Oh my gosh, the list is so long. It's just, all of the coaching staff at Virginia Tech, they were so supportive through the whole thing and by my side the whole time. Same with the athletic trainers, same with the orthopedic we have on staff, all the team doctors. At Virginia Tech, the list just goes and goes and goes. I don't even know if I can list everybody at Virginia Tech. But then, my parents helping me through the recovery process, just bringing me in, let me stay home rent-free for a month, and then, kind of help me with what I needed to do. And then, from there, it's just other athletes that I take inspiration from, people who kind of show you what's possible, show you what you can come back from.
Awesome. So we're going to, we talked about some serious stuff. We're going to try to change it up here with our lightning round and get people to get a little bit of understanding of the type of person you are. So I'm going to ask you some questions, rapid fire, and let us know some answers. So what's your favorite breakfast?
Protein shake.
Favorite drink?
Coffee or an energy drink.
Okay. And then how about ice bath? Yes or no?
Of course. Head under, all the way under.
Least favorite, you talked about your favorite, but least favorite decathlon event?
The 1500, easily.
Okay. So all those kids out there who hate running the mile, changing when you're a track and field star.
Exactly.
Favorite professional football team?
The Saints.
Okay. You have a favorite song to run to?
Ooh. That's a hard one. It's a really good question. How about California Girls, Katy Perry?
Wow. Okay. All right. All right. I could see that. Sports goal that you haven't achieved yet?
Score 7,500 points in the decathlon.
Professional goal. What's the future look like post track and field?
Oof. So I'll be starting my working career in strategy consulting with Accenture. And then moving forward, it's just going to be, learn as many different business functions as I can and, get a lot of different project experience and just kind of see where that takes me.
Awesome. Favorite vacation spot?
Oof. Might be my hometown, Fairhope, Alabama.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. And I'll leave you with a little question about the future. Kids or no kids?
I think so.
You think so?
We're debating.
Well, look, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for telling your story. It's very impressive, Jake. And want to thank all the listeners for tuning in. This has been Peter Bowman, and you're listening to the Perseverance Podcast, sponsored by BB Attorneys and our man Jake Spotswood from Virginia Tech. Thank you, Jake, for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Peter.